16 minutes past 8. So, OK, we can't travel much at the moment. We can for business, of course, but nevertheless, the COVID-19 pandemic does mean one thing, that, of course, you don't have to be physically present in the office to do your work. But nevertheless, there are a lot of people who are interested in moving abroad. And are we how's it work? How's it work post-Brexit? That's the question we want to ask. Natasha Stark is Amsterdam Managing Partner of DMCG Global, which is specialist in global recruitment. Natasha, good morning to you. Now, this is research from Rosetta Stone, which is the learning language software, and it says 42% of UK adults are interested in moving abroad, 19% believing that better job opportunities are available abroad so that they can get up the career ladder. First of all, is that right, Natasha?
Yeah, I mean, I myself live over in Amsterdam. I made the move about 7 years ago, and we get, especially back in 2016, we saw a huge sort of upsurge of people after the news of Brexit wanting to move to Europe, sort of maybe seeing it as their last chance. But the message that we kind of want to give is that, it's certainly not the last chance. There are still things you can do. It might be a little bit more tricky. Obviously, entry requirements have changed, everyone is kind of considered a highly skilled migrant now. So, things are a bit trickier. But yeah, the appetite is definitely still there.
Now, an awful long time ago, I accidentally spent a year backpacking around France and Belgium and Holland, picking up jobs where I could. As a student, can you still do that?
Yeah, I mean, that's something that we've kind of been looking at. I mean, this only came out, don't forget, I think, about sort of the first week of January. So everybody's very much still getting used to this idea that you cannot just pick up your passport anymore and go and do that. There are different requirements for each country. I think temporary work is going to be different, but if you certainly do want to come and kind of live your life in an EU country, you need to check that government website, because, it's not just as easy as
you're saying. I think I want to go and work in France, Spain / Italy, whatever it is. That's where I fancy going, and you could just trot off and go and do it. Is the problem the fact that you have to, I don't know, a bit like if you wanted to go and work in America or Canada, whatever, you'd have to be sponsored. Is that essentially the easiest thing?
That's exactly right, yeah. You'd have to be sponsored, or you'd have to prove that you can have some sort of income to look after yourself while you're in that country. I think that's what Spain's got at the moment. But here in the Netherlands, it's definitely sort of salary requirements as well, which does make it tricky for a certain sector of, like, for instance, bars and restaurants. People used to be able to come over and be waiters or chefs or whatever. That's really not going to be possible to a certain extent, of being able just to spend a year or 2 years in another country. But what we do say to people is, look, check the government websites. There are systems, there are hopefully over the next few months going to be things that are put in place by governments. I mean, this was like a very hastily agreed situation, and I don't think anyone's really got used to it. So hopefully there will be things that are going to be put in place, but we just don't know yet. But the thing is, we're saying to people is, if you do have a passion to live in Spain, maybe you should start to learn Spanish. I think it will help you embed you in the culture. It might help your job prospects. So learning a language is definitely top on the list, I'd say.
Right, and then you can apply, or you might be able to apply for an EU blue card. It does sound very much like going to America, doesn't it, with your green card?
Well, it is, yeah, and especially here in the Netherlands, with the EU blue card, you have to be earning over 5,500 euros a month to get in the running for that.
Which is what, about 4,000 quid, is that still, or is that now parity? Or is it 1 for 1?
Exactly, but a lot of people just aren't really earning that. So, it's sort of the people who come fresh out of university who want to maybe come over. But as I said, I think it's difficult because every single country does have its own entry requirements, even though there is a blanket HSM highly skilled migrant situation happening for the EU. Each of those countries, so France will be different to the Netherlands, will be different to Spain. So it's really important to go onto those individual websites of the government and check those.
Go and have a little look. France has I was just looking through, just very briefly for a few of them. If it's Spain, you need a work and a residence permit and visa and a guarantee that the employer will cover accommodation and travel costs. And then France has got a seasonal worker permit for up to 6 months, and you need a long stay visa. In Croatia, you need residence and work permits, and there's a limit on the number of foreign nationals who can work. Italy's got a quota system. So as you say, each one there is a difference, and presumably you have to pay for any of these things, do you?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it really depends. The company, if you're moving across for an international company, will usually pay for that, to be honest, as part of the package. I think, you'd have to negotiate that for sure. But that I think that there's lots of things to look into when moving to another country, and this is just going to be one of those other things. And hopefully not too many people have had their freedoms taken away, because that's really kind of what we're looking at in this kind of situation.
So, but let's take it. You were there before the pandemic, weren't you? You were in Holland before the pandemic, is that right? Hello, Natasha. Well, there we go. I was just going to ask her all about how brilliant it was working abroad, but obviously there's some sort of issue there. I did hear that sort of a funny noise, but which we've all got quite used to when we're talking to people, and there's suddenly a kind of funny, quirky noise, and then they just disappear. That was Natasha Stark, Amsterdam Managing Partner of DMCG Global, specialists in global recruitment. I don't know whether we're going to get her back. Hold on a second, I'll just check with the producer. No, okay, so we'll just say thank you very much, Natasha. And yes, the whole point is, of course, is that also going and learning another language, always a good thing, seeing other places and just enjoying it. Anyway, we'll say thank you very much to Natasha. We are going to be talking about this urban airport next. This is something that's very exciting, particularly if you grew up with the Jetsons just zipping around in little bubbles that they just stepped into, and then off they'd go after pressing a few buttons. And what with a sort of slight noise of something out of Star Trek, they'd suddenly be transported somewhere else. So there's a temporary airport going to be built in Coventry later on this year to allow small electric passenger carrying aircraft to operate in an urban area. I'll tell you what, we'll just very, very briefly, I did want to talk to Natasha, and we have managed to get her back. So just very briefly, hello, Natasha. Sorry about that.
Hi.
Don't know what happened. Just very briefly, tell me about the benefits of working abroad.
Well, I think, a lot of people, certainly like change of culture. I think a lot of people in their careers feel like, at least once in their career, they want to work somewhere else for a number of reasons, really. I think, it can help your career prospects. You get to see a different way of life, and make new friends, really.
Yeah.
I think that, that's something that everyone wants, that variety, don't they, I think.
Has Dutch been terribly useful, though? I mean, I can see I can see
really
Spanish
lucky.
being useful.
I'm really lucky because actually everybody here speaks English pretty much as their second language, and my 4-year-old speaks better Dutch than I do because he's born and bred here. So I'm still learning, but certainly, Rosetta Stone's helping me do that for sure.
I did try working in Amsterdam, but I could say kan ik u helpen. And
can ik u helpen?
Kan ik u helpen? I could say ik van you, but that's not very useful
that's
when you're
actually
actually.
To learn. That's a good one to learn. Yeah,
I love you. Not terribly useful when you're asking somebody if they want a hot chocolate. The problem is, of course, understanding what they were saying back. But thank you very much, Natasha, and that is Natasha Stark, Amsterdam Managing Partner at DMCG Global Specialists in global recruitment, 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 in global